I wanted students to engage with French theory, apply it to some kind of everyday object, whether that's a film or a building or a cultural practice or a newspaper article, and present that in such a way that the whole class could take advantage and learn from it, but without having kind of an endless stream of oral presentations in class. So I asked students to present a poster, and there are some useful skills that they learn in doing that. So I give them plenty of information and examples of how to go about designing a poster, right from how to select whether it's going to be landscape or portrait, down to how much it's going to cost to get it printed and where. So they've got some background, they've got some examples. And one of the criteria for that is that it has to be engaging to other students, and there's a certain amount of peer review involved in that. And then I divide the class, so if I've got a class of up to 30 people, I divide them into, say, 3 groups, and each group's going to have 40 minutes where their posters are up on the wall and each person is standing in front of their poster, and people are circulating and engaging in an active way rather than sitting and listening to the presentation. So they're asking questions, and I too am going around engaging, asking a few questions of each presenter. Then ding, everything changes, it's the next group. So the posters get whipped down, a new set of posters go up, a different set of people is standing in front of their poster and talking about them. So, okay, nobody sees every poster, but most people will engage with at least 16 posters for a length of time that corresponds to their interests. So, if they're bored, if they've understood, they go on to the next one. So I think that's really worked well as a way of getting students to be interested, to have conversations about intellectual issues, to learn new things in a way that keeps everybody active. And because they're getting questions from a whole range of people, they really have to know their material, understand it thoroughly. They can't just have, copied somebody else's idea, really. For the posters, it's actually something that's quite efficient to mark compared to an essay. So I do get them to submit a PDF of their poster as well. But in general, you can't fit more than 500 words on a poster and still have something that's engaging and legible. If it's something that they haven't seen before in another course, it's really important to see an example. So an example of a poster, even if it's just flashed across the screen rather than used as a template, or some kind of practice activity, or as I have the way of having the best 2 out of 3, so that, yes, for people for whom this is unfamiliar and they really didn't quite get it the first time, that they have a second chance. So I do think, some kind of training for the student in what's expected, making expectations really clear. But often, less is more. The more information you give, sometimes the less clear it becomes. So an example is often quite helpful. I think the posters were generally well received, or the students enjoyed that. People who are anxious about giving oral presentations were still anxious, but probably found them less anxiety-inducing than giving a presentation in front of a whole class. So I guess what this adds is another means of communication. And I certainly use essays as well. I don't want to denigrate that. I don't want to lessen their importance. I just want to propose several ways of communicating that people might be able to use as graduates. So if they can communicate using an audio-visual support, communicate online, certainly communicate across cultures, that's all important, and that enhances their capacity to disseminate ideas. I think it is encouraging them to develop clarity of ideas and presentation skills, and it's the kind of thing that they're actually likely to do in quite a range of employment situations later on, is need to present something visually on a PowerPoint or on a poster, or with the poster asking people to actually talk about what they're doing and the choices they made and why they said this rather than they said this. Even if they had, found all the ideas in consultation with somebody else, they'd still have to explain it. At one stage I tried to do it, I allowed students to do it in pairs, and I've stopped doing that because I think it's easier to assess their work as individuals when they do it individually. And I can remember there was a pair where one person was clearly more capable than the other in this pair, and one person had done probably most of the intellectual work for the poster, but that really came out in the conversation, that one person could answer the questions and explain the poster to an extent that the other person couldn't. So actually getting people to talk about what they're doing, even if it's only a 5-minute chat there, is really revelatory.